state of education in Florida and some of the things that have been going on at an elevated level over the past few years, one of them being the banning of books. And recent studies are basically saying that out of all the states in this fabulous country of ours, Florida is leading the charge with the most banned books. And I got to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, that is not something I would like to, rest my laurels on. Like, that's not a title I really want to hold. Being the OnlyFans capital of the country.
Is that the title you like?
I'm telling you, that one I will hold up with pride. Being the book banning capital of the country, not so much. I know a local news channel basically was discussing the amount of books that have been banned over the last school year. It was 300. I thought that was what that to me was an exorbitant amount. And come to find out, it's actually 1,400 books that are banned throughout the state of Florida.
Yeah, over a certain time period, yeah. Well, listen, I'm not for banning books. Well, that's not necessarily true. I think books should be age appropriate. Mm-hmm. That's one. And I do think there's probably books that are not appropriate in elementary school or middle school or, even high school. That being said, who the is picking them? That, I think, is the quintessential problem in banning books, is the person over there is banning this book because they don't like it, and the person over there is banning this book because they don't like it. So who's actually calling it? It's very reminiscent of, World War II in Europe.
The thing that makes me most frightened is the fact that this is not new. Book banning has been going on forever.
Censorship in general of even what goes into the books has been going on forever.
But this is like a different situation because we have loosened the reins as to, I think, the checks and balances to this particular process. Like, not that long ago in Miami-Dade County, a woman filed a petition to have numerous titles, eliminated from an elementary school library. One of them being a book of poems by one of the youngest, I think, youth poet laureate. She was at the inauguration of President Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. Amanda Gorman is her name. But when the woman submitted her petition, she quoted the author of the book as being Oprah. Like, she didn't even know who wrote the book she wanted banned because she said it was inappropriate, brought no educational value, and all of these things. And if you know anything about this young poet, she's inspired a generation of children to pick up a pen and a notebook and write. You know what I mean? She gets DMs on the regular, young boys and girls who are watching her perform on a global stage because, let's be real, the inauguration of the American president is watched around the world. And here she was standing on this podium and speaking so very eloquently. Whether you liked the content of her poem or not, that's not what this is about. This is about encouraging, creativity, encouraging freedom of speech and all of these things. And the fact that you didn't even know the author was, what sort of due diligence did you do?
Listen, you're in media. What sort of due diligence did the media do when they put her on the stage to go against this book? You have to, she got this voice and she got it publicized. Yet nobody.
Well, no, the media has always covered, school board meetings and things like that, and that's where she petitioned it. So we happened to be there, and folks were blown away, especially when they got the paper and she couldn't spell properly. She didn't know who the authors were, and her whole deal was she was determining what was of educational value, not the people who have master's degrees and doctorates in education who have literally dedicated and committed their lives to, educating future generations of Americans. This rando woman, and I don't even think she has kids in the school. It's like,
it doesn't even matter the content. It's irrelevant. It's who is deciding what new books are coming in, and what old books are going out. Who's deciding that? It's some of these controversies are over fairly recent books also.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, yeah, like All Boys Are Blue, yes.
Yeah, so who's deciding what books come in and who's deciding what old books go out?
It was like Dear God, It's Me, Margaret, which has been around for Judy Blume. Generations.
What's the other one? To Kill a Mockingbird.
Well, but that's, so here, but Judy Blume Like Judy Blume was a rites of
How about
passage.
Dr. Seuss?
No. I mean, and that's wild too. I used to literally do a Dr. Seuss day for the Miami Children's Museum. They would, on Dr. Seuss's birthday, they would bring in kids from different schools, young kids, and they'd have guest readers come in and read, from an array of Dr. Seuss books. I used to always get the Cat in the Hat when I went to do a broadcast from Universal. I bought the big Cat in the hat so that I could wear it when I read to the kids. Like, I lived for it. Guess what? They don't do anymore. Celebrate Dr. Seuss's birthday. At least we haven't. I know that during pandemic, we didn't read a Dr. Seuss book. We still did something because it was really just to encourage reading. You know what I mean? And that whole situation. But to me, it's one of those. Explain why. I don't understand if there were problematic books that he had. Because that was what was kind of brought up in conversation. Okay, remove those. But the man has written plethora of books that so many of us like. I never read a Dr. Seuss book and interpreted any of it as being
green eggs and ham.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like as being racially motivated or any of those things. But he is a known.
So was Ford. Henry Ford was.
But Henry Ford built cars. He didn't write books that educated.
Everybody drives Fords, even though he was a Nazi.
Yeah, well, but so was Walt Disney.
Exactly, and everybody goes to Disney World.
But do you realize also been called out? Like, I don't know that was, as well known a fact until recently that, he was a sympathizer, that these were some of the values or views
Ford?
that he held. No. Dr. Seuss. But again, it's a teachable moment, right? Like, you can go back and you can take those same books and you can weave that into American history somewhere further down the road and really go into it and talk about it and why these things are happening. Like, why do people think by eliminating something, you're going to avoid the conversation? That's not how life works.
No.
And you can use it as a conversation starter. How do you feel about this? Like, that's the whole thing that blows my mind. That's the whole point of education. It's to challenge people to think. Blows my mind. That's the whole point of education. It's to challenge people to think. It's
not the point of education in this country anymore. They don't encourage
individual thought.
No, they don't. It's not. That's not the way it is. And you could see by the standardized testing. Everybody's learning how to take a test, this specific test for what? I mean, we've discussed this a million times about what we learned when we were in school versus what they learn when in school now. I mean, how about basic history? How about, the fact that physical education and art are no longer prevalent in any public schools. Why? Because half the kids are too fat to dress out? I mean, what's causing that? And why is it?
But what are you replacing? But what are you replacing it with? That's my other question. Because I was thinking about this honestly, Lem, when we were talking about the book thing, and we've had the conversation about what you are and aren't teaching. And I actually Googled what are some life skills, right? Because that's the other conversation that people love to have.
Zero.
What are some life skills that we should be teaching in school? And they had an incredible list, which we could probably do a whole separate podcast on. But it was funny because I started thinking like, okay, so when would you fit this into the curriculum? And I went back to high school and I was like, bro, I had like 2 study hall periods a day on some days in high school. No. What I'm telling you is they're wasting time.
Yeah.
So give me a second to finish my thought. It's like you act like there's no time in the day, but really we have children just sitting there twiddling their thumbs, and I'm sure in 2023 playing on their phones, because even back in the late 90s when I was in high school, I had a full course load, but I still had study hall periods.